Preach.
Preach. I'm preaching, right? I mean,
Preach, Bailey.
Little dank, ain't it?
Medium rare.
I love when Bailey goes rogue.
yeah, I'm going rogue.
Glorious, dank splendor.
Everybody dance! Let me preach for a second. The dankness. This is for the sky is falling.
I'm still synthesizing how I ended up here, to be honest.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah, let's just kick it, Dan. So, Dan, are we on episode 4 today? Woo!
I think we're on episode 4. Art Gnome. That's an
Congratulations
achievement.
to you, my friend.
Congratulations.
Don't want to play favorites, but I do feel like with every episode, I get increasingly excited about our guests. Who do we have today, Dan, as our special guest?
We have somebody very, very special streaming in live from Western Europe. We got Mr. Carlos Marcial, a good friend of yours.
Woo! Yeah, I love Carlos. We go way back. I can always count when the bullshit meter starts to go up, and I hear like everybody saying what they just think everybody else wants to hear. Like I go to Carlos's Twitter feed because I know he's actually gonna like cut through all the noise. He has a way of being like super succinct and crisp, but also like brilliant, right? So I can never get enough of Carlos.
And quickly, to introduce ourselves, in case you're joining us for the first time, I am Dan Sickles.
And I am Art Gnome Jason Bailey, aka Art Gnome.
And we are here on the Dankness, hosting some of the best minds in the cryptosphere for some conversation about their work, their life, and we're digging into a little bit of some crypto mythology.
Crypto magic.
Weird.
But first,
Really weird.
a pre-roll.
Hey y'all, this is Hannah, one of the producers behind I'm New Here, Depop Studios' forthcoming documentary film, directed by your lovely Dankness host / Sundance Grand Jury Award winner, Dan Sickles. The film tells the story of an isolated internet user who falls down the crypto rabbit hole, encounters the visionaries behind the NFT movement, and ultimately rediscovers their connection to art and humanity along the way. I know I'm a little biased, but this is the definitive NFT documentary made for and by the community. So I'm calling on you, dear listener, to help us successfully complete this film by becoming a newbie collector today. I'm talking about our film's very own NFT collection of 10,000 avatars whose pixelicious traits pay homage to our iconic cast. Y'all, the amazing thing about becoming a newbie collector is that we've partnered with a roster of incredible artists in our community to bring you the dankest artist collaborations made exclusively for newbie holders for free. That means the newbie is the best and most accessible way to start your own crypto art collection. So, open that browser tab right now. Come on, we both know you're holding your phone. And go to newhere.xyz and mint.
Oh, wow. Where are we? Second floor, third dank
Capture
room
the
on
magic
left.
of the three sleepyheads.
All the glitz and glamour behind the scenes of the Dankness. Yeah, I mean, that was actually sort of what I was gonna, I guess, show and tell today, because like I don't have much more to talk about, to be honest. But
I keep seeing OE everywhere on Twitter, and I thought like 40s were making a comeback. Like, you know, people are like, you know, drinking. Like, I was waiting for Colt 45 to trend or whatever. I'm like, OE, and I only like recently realized like, oh, open editions are like, you know, must be like making some kind of noise. And then I know we're sort of in memesville with like 6529's memes. We're sort of mooning there for a bit, and It sounds like there's sort of some meme battles.
Yeah, no, the meme wars are in full force for sure.
We're here for the party, and
I mean, I like we have Rare Skrilla and like that the OG sort of like Rare Pepe fake Rare crew who have like then sort of started building on Ethereum. There's him carsonated, Viva La Vandal. I'm gonna forget a few. Um, like yeah, whatever. They're going to battle basically in the meme card game. Also trying to, I think, bring attention back to like the original Rare Pepe cards.
That's my Pepe.
But then you also have Sergito, who's like doing this whole derivative meme card homage to the Meebits called Seize the Meebs.
I am your creator.
And yeah, it seems like, over the next few months, the NFT meta is really going to be dominated by, these meme cards.
That's where it all comes from. Like, people forget sometimes we got so serious about NFTs and like talking up our bags and trying to make money and this, that, and the other. But like, it really was the meme of a meme economy, which is a meme itself, right? Like this idea that like which was so freaking absurd, like 6-7 years ago. Like it was actually a thing because it was absurd, right? Like this idea that like someday we'll buy and sell memes, right? Like that's about as ridiculous a thing as we can think of. And now we're like, well, yeah, of course we do, right?
Yeah.
Like, and now we have a meme war, and it's just it's a natural thing that you would buy and sell them. I don't know. I used to say that memes were the most important art of this generation, mostly because I like to piss people off and like stir the pot a little bit. But I do think that there may be one of the most exciting and unique sort of things that we have in this generation that like I guess there's maybe cultural precedent for memetics and memes or whatever. Kind of like we own that. We've taken it to like the next level.
For sure. Yeah, I think and we're finding new forms for how memes can live too. I don't think we'd like traditionally like look at a baseball card and be like, oh, that's a meme. We would think of it as a baseball card, but put in like this digital form, it does feel a bit different. But it also, I mean, it is like you're saying, like a meme economy built on a meme. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I think you're friends with Cosimo, and I think he's also starting his own meme card collection.
Yeah, we chatted
not
a couple
now.
weeks ago, and he was hinting at some of it. I didn't get the full details, but yeah, I think memes are in the air, right? Like I make so many predictions that it's inevitable that one of them will come true. That's the advantage of making lots of different contrary predictions. But my latest thing, I do feel like there's gonna be a human rebellion to a lot of this AI stuff. And I don't say that naively. I mean, I worked in an AI startup for 5 years and I'm pretty, familiar with where we're at technology wise, but it's so easy to produce so much work. Yes, there's great AI art out there, but in addition to that, it's so easy to produce like huge volumes of work that I think we're going to see a backlash and people are going to want to move towards things that like feel like they can't be produced in massive volumes and maybe have like this human, like extra dose of human element. And memes may be it. We may be seeing it, right? Like this kind of push towards memes may be part of that backlash.
I hear you for sure. I think though, to your point about AI and how much you can produce in terms of quantity, like I think that to sort of match that, the aura and the enigma of the artist making those works can also scale relative to the quantity of works that they're producing. So I'm also excited to see how certain AI artists are also able to sort of carry these huge collections and like these big bodies of work forward in ways that aren't actually rooted in a human experience all the time, or are maybe like, sort of like different combinations of different human experiences, and that is referred to as like this particular AI artist. It could be a collective, something like that. But yeah, I mean, like there's so much with AI art that still fascinates me, and I actually I am collecting AI art, I like a bit on the side right now. I'd say it's sort of my focus, like next to checking out like what generative art is still sort of available.
Love it. Yeah, I'm waiting for the prices to fall. I mean, I kind of started collecting AI art in
Yeah.
2017, 2018 or whatever, like the early, the GAN stuff, right? The GAN crew. And the text prompt stuff, I'm always on the
Hmm.
lookout for something I like. And there are a couple artists here and there, that I find interesting. But to me, people that want to push back on me sometimes will compare it to photography, right? And they're like, well, it's like photography, and that's like kind of taken off, and that anybody can like take a photo, but there's some really great photographers. And I said exactly, like, actually, I worked at a 1 hour photo lab for one summer, and it was like the worst job I ever had, because most photos actually aren't art, or at least aren't artistically pleasing or interesting, right? Like, there are people that can use a camera to produce things that are amazing, that we find really interesting. But I would call bullshit on anyone who's like, well, you know what I like to do is just look at everybody's random photos of anything. In fact, like, it's sort of, I'm older than you guys, but it's sort of famously like the worst thing in the 80s would be like your neighbors come back from like a vacation, and they would bring slides, and they would literally have this manual slide reel and show you like 1,000 photos of like trees in like, Hawaii or whatever, from their vacation. And like you had to pretend like you were interested, and you were like stuck in their house or whatever. So like, to me, my Twitter feed, like in terms of the AI art that I see coming across, it feels kind of like that slide projector thing, where I'm like, oh man, like a lot of this looks the same, and like the barrier to produce it so low. But of course, I appreciate it, the occasional artist.
Yeah, of course you do. Definitely. And I mean, yeah, I think there is like sort of a growing sort of
This is
distinguishing
art?
divide maybe between AI sort of collaborative artists who are creating their own training algorithms, and people who are employing sort of pre-trained algorithms and sort of like messing around on platforms, and just sort of like posting art that way for sure. But yeah, you've been a steward of AI art really
Yeah,
since
yeah,
the
yeah,
start of it.
yeah. I mean, just in case I haven't offended enough people already. Um, oh crap! I think I lost my train of thought there, but I had sort of a follow on the AI thing. But it'll be interesting. We know that throughout art history, there's always the pendulum always swings, right? We go in one direction, everyone gets really excited about one thing, and then we sort of see a rebellion to it, and we swing back the other direction. And I think it's just where we all are, sort of in our journey there. But hey, so can you talk about? I know this is sort of our show and tell, and we were going to talk about how none of us have slept. But can you talk about your trip to West Virginia? I'm kind of excited to hear about that, or is that top secret?
Yeah, I can. I can talk about that. I think that what we should do, because he said that he
Yeah.
would be, he
So do
said
we
that he
want
would
to keep
come
it a
on an
secret and
episode.
just like not even say what you did there? Like,
Um,
so let's leave this
yeah,
part in as a teaser. No one will.
okay, cool. But it was, I mean, you know quite well who this person is, and like, uh, yeah, they're brilliant, and you know. It's funky because like it's also such a weird way of producing. Like we brought a bunch of like lidar cameras, and like we had our iPhones, and like we were messing with like some nerf technology and stuff like this. Like we're messing with AI for these particular sequences. And it's kind of like going to camp in a way, because like we have these tools, but we don't exactly know how they're going to play on camera or in a film. Like a lot of people are using lidar right now to take scans of real estate, right, for like selling apartments and whatever commercial real estate. But like we're really finding ways of like integrating this really cool tech that like sort of like will introduce different environments as 3D spaces, right? So like rather than them potentially just fading in to a shot, we can sort of fade into an actual 3D object that is the space that this
So, Dan,
scene
context
is
for folks.
happening in,
You're saying
right?
like for the documentary that you're doing, new here, like the documentary you're doing on NFTs, you're doing some on-site like 3D scanning of environments as a way to bring in some contrast to the film, like a way, sort of an interesting storytelling device. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, I think that's something I'm always interested in, is like pushing the aesthetic boundaries of nonfiction. Right. So, and I think that what a lot of people might expect from a doc about NFTs is sort of like a bunch of floating heads being like, okay, this happened and this happened, and then the next person. And you and I, we did film in a green screen studio, and I think something that I can say too is like very, very soon we are going to be premiering sort of like bits, and there will be more details about this, but of what that really looks like, sort of like built out, and like what these worlds look like. And I guess to sort of bring it back around to like the AI conversation, like something that I've been working on a lot this week, and is also why I'm so tired, is because I've been working with our VFX and animation crew. They're in Bangkok, so like we wake up. I wake up super early in New York. They're up late in Bangkok, and we're working in Unreal Engine to really build out again like these environments. They're like they're familiar sort of to gamers, as kind of like video game worlds, but instead of sort of like um like a battle taking place or sort of something like that, or something mythical, like we're actually creating these really cool spaces where the artists in the green screen studios, that's actually where they've been placed. So like they're sitting in these worlds that are actually built from the art that they make. One that I'm really, really excited about is Snowfro. Actually, like he's sitting in this building essentially constructed of squiggles, and they just look monumental in scale, and it's like really cool to play with them that way. And something that I just didn't have appreciation for going into this process, because like my typical process is much more grounded in the meatverse. It's not so reliant on VFX and animation, is just how tedious that process is of like building out those worlds. And building them out well is also the trick. Like I think there's probably a lot of shortcuts people can take to like make a kind of what could be identified as like a knockoff sort of like 3D environment, but to really make them special and to make them shine and unique to every individual artist, which is the
But I
challenge
think,
here.
yeah,
um
I mean, I think that
it's
kind of goes
it's been a
full
lot,
circle
yeah.
back to where we started, right? Where it's like you're talking about not taking shortcuts, or actually maybe like authentically pouring yourself into something. And like you could, even with lidar or these 3D environments, much like AI art or any kind of art, like I'm always suspicious when someone's like, I like AI art. I'm like, well, like all of it? Like, you like people don't say like I like sculpture or I like painting, right? Like some of it appeals to you and some of it doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like my trendy like radar goes off when like people are like, don't you love gen art, or like don't you love AI art? I'm like, well, yeah, of course some of it, but like not all. Like the fact that something fits a category doesn't instantly make me love it, right? And I think you're hinting at that even with your 3D environments. Like, yeah, there's probably a fast way to like check the box and be like, okay, we made one of these things, but like the use of technology in and of itself doesn't make anything interesting to me, I guess.
Absolutely. Which was also part of the conversation that we were having in West Virginia. And hopefully that mind will come hang with us on the Dankness. But first, we are going to get to who do we have? Who do we have at the door? Oh, that is Mr. Carlos Marcial, ladies and gentlemen. Carlos in the house. So we're going to get straight to him real quick, but first, we got a pre-roll. Stella, take us out.
That's right, baby.
Hey friends, this is Art Gnome reminding you that at Club NFT you can analyze the health of your entire NFT collection, back up and protect your NFTs in a single click, get personalized recommendations on which art and artists to collect next, read great articles from Right Click Save, the world's leading Web3 culture publication. At Club NFT, you can kick back, relax, knowing your collection is safe. Back up your collection. Your JPEGs will thank you.
Testing, 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 and we are back. with our guest for today, Mr. Carlos Marcial. Carlos, I'm a huge fan of Carlos. He's a Mexico City-born Puerto Rican digital artist involved in crypto art since 2019. He's most recently relocated with his family to the beautiful coast of Western Europe. He's made a living from creating blockchain art, something Carlos speaks a lot about and which we'll touch on today. But before becoming one of the first full-time crypto artists, Marcial helped establish a studio in Toronto, Canada, that specialized in design services for blockchain projects and companies. It was there that Carlos first discovered NFTs. His art is mesmerizing and ranges from 3D realism to what some may refer to as protest or political art, to digital artifacts honoring the cultures that made him who he is. Some works I suggest you spend time with, which of course there are many, as Carlos is quite prolific, but highlights for me include The Blockchain is the Message, his first mint, Silencio, Run, Satoshi Run, and A Cat Named Infinity. Marcial is currently expanding his artistic practice into algorithmic and generative art as well. Carlos is the definition of an OG, as crypto native as it gets, and he's a constant inspiration to artists everywhere. If you need a boost of confidence, check out Carlos on Twitter at Carlos Marcial Alt. That's CarlosMarcialt. And you'll immediately feel empowered to go wild and create. A fact I love to mention about Carlos is that he majored in film at the University of Puerto Rico, a campus I've personally visited quite a few times myself. Art Gnome, I know that you and Carlos go back quite a bit.
Yeah. So Carlos is my go-to person when I feel like I'm out of step with the whole world. When I see like what's going on and no one seems to be talking about what's actually going on, I reach out to Carlos and I'm like, dude, do I see what I think I'm seeing? Like, is this what? Because he'll always like tell it to me straight, right? So when I launched Right Click Save, one of the first artists I wanted to interview was Carlos, right? Like whenever reporters reach out to me and they're like, what artist should I talk to really understand what's going on in the crypto art space, I immediately send them to Carlos, right? Because you're going to get a super thoughtful, intelligent, but unvarnished like answer to your questions and into like what's really going on. And I think I have a theory for why this is, and we'll get into this, but where Carlos came in 2019, that's a down year, right? Like most people come in because they see dollar signs flashing and they're trying to get on the gravy train or whatever. But like Carlos becomes part of this culture because he actually cares about the culture. He's someone who cares about art. He cares about crypto. You can see his work isn't just like, oh, I'm going to sell some NFTs. He's thinking about sort of decentralization and like, social change that could happen from a lot of these things. And it's coming through, in the work. So excited to have Carlos today because just any chance I have to have a conversation with him is awesome because he's going to tell it like it is, right? We're not going to walk around on like pins and needles and like bullshit about what's going on. Like, life is life, and people, all these artists and collectors and builders in the space are real people, right? And like when everybody else is trying to put up a facade or say what they think people want to hear, like, Carlos just tells it like it is. So I'm jazzed to have the conversation today.
Mr. Marcial, how are you, sir?
Thank you.
Thank you for
I'm doing super well.
Yeah, thank you for hopping into the Dankness studio with us.
The Dankness. Yeah. I don't know, like that was the best intro. I was telling you, before we started like that. I'm super happy to be here once again. To tell it like it is, So I'm excited to just talk about like the state maybe of crypto art and NFTs. Currently, I think it's like we're in a good position. Like it's a good in terms of timeline because we are connected to like the crypto cycles and stuff. So now probably is the best time to have discussions around what's going on, right? Because you don't have the hype that we had, even like a year and a half ago. So this is the moment to be having like this kind of debates and discussions and conversations for, definitely.
There's two questions that I sort of have, I guess, on the back of that. One is more practical and sort of superficial, topical, and the other is really about sort of where you're headed in terms of art practice. I think maybe to sort of start with maybe something more logistical, right? You talk about being sort of a full-time crypto artist. I'm wondering, with this market downturn and all of that, how much you can tell us about how you're able to manage your finances when it comes to, you know, being dependent on a currency that is more
Hmm.
volatile than the dollar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm right now. After I'm done with this, I'm putting my taco stand, outside my home so I can sell some tacos and make some extra income. But no, it's one of those things that I try not to shy away from, like, and have like an open, honest discussion about it, because it's an integral part of, like, the whole crypto art system. The fact that we're exchanging our art for a volatile asset, and that's probably one of the most challenging things, to ask from an artist, is to kind of like especially with crypto art, where you like a lot of us do almost everything, and that's kind of like how we got
Yeah,
started. Like we create the art, we do the marketing, right? But then you're the salesperson too. You're the one, having conversations with the collectors. Like, there's no gallery, and it's good and bad. It's like everything. It's like any new evolution in whatever it might be, where technology is involved. Like, you're gonna have the good, but with the good comes the bad too, right? And the other thing is, like, you know you you have to be able to kind of like navigate the financial world if you want to be able to survive from crypto art. I mean, in my case, I think I was lucky that I got involved with crypto before I got into crypto art. So I was making designs for
right.
I was art director for a design studio in Toronto, in Canada. And they were paying me in Bitcoin, my salary,
Okay.
because that's kind of like, and it was not something that I chose. It's like, this guy told me, this is what I have. Like, if you want to work with me, you're gonna get your salary paid in Bitcoin.
Mm,
And this was to, like, more or less, like, in terms of cycle, it would be right around where we are right now, but in the past cycle. So it was 2018 when I started working. Yeah, yeah, uh, like this third quarter of 2018, and I started working for this company, and they were paying me in Bitcoin. So I had to kind of like, and I had already bought Bitcoin like many, many, many years ago in 2012. And I remember the price of Bitcoin, because I bought half a Bitcoin, and it was $60. I paid $60 for half a Bitcoin. So I know that when I bought it, it was
Oh, wow.
$120 for for one Bitcoin. But then I forgot about it. Like, I sold, and I didn't came back until I got this opportunity
mm,
with this company. I didn't understood at that point. I was into art. I was into film. I wanted to become an artist. And once again, like, you have this contradiction. Like, like, you want to be an artist and you want to be able to live off your art, but you're constantly being told that if you like find a way to make money, and if you get into like too much of the financial sides of thing, like side of things, it's like, like, no, you're an artist. You should only be thinking about art, and you should only be thinking
Art.
about creating.
Art it is.
And it's not like that. Like, it's much more complicated than that.
Art
So
is
I think I
scary.
was lucky. Art is very scary. It is. It is when you're full time artist. It's scary. I think everybody wants to be like a full time artist until you become a full time artist, and you have to figure out everything.
for
How am I
sure.
gonna like do this?
I think that's why I start there, really, because it's such a volatile career path, and on top of it, you're being paid in a currency that is also very much figuring itself out and what its own value is. I'm wondering, if an artist is to come to you in 2023 and say, you know what, like I want to do the same thing and divest from a fiat based system,
Hmm.
where where are there some places to sort of direct them, or point them for sort of how to start to build in
Future.
a similar
The
way to you?
future.
I think. I mean, I I've been devouring every website, every blog post, that I've been able to get my hands on regarding crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Then eventually I got into like buying books. Like just recently I read the I think it's called The Infinite Machine. It's by this Chilean author. Like it's the history of Ethereum.
Mm.
And that's really good. That's amazing book. I just bought the Bitcoin Standard. I cannot pronounce the author, so don't make me like pronounce the name. But it's I know it's one of the standards, right? Like a lot of people that are into like Bitcoin and trying to move away from like a fiat system. That's one of the books that they recommend. So I think it's a matter of education, right? And once you and I saw a lot of like also like YouTube documentaries about kind of like the fiat system, about fractionalized banking, about how central banks print money without consideration for inflation. And I guess that's kind of like where we are right now in terms of of economy. So and then you just kind of like you fall down the rabbit hole. And at some point when I started getting my salary in Bitcoin, it felt like a video game, but in real life, where you have like a scarce digital asset that everybody's gonna be fighting for.
Mm.
It was like that. Like I'm not kidding you. Like when I got it, when I really
That makes
got it,
sense.
it was like, fuck, I need to move fast. I need to be able to get more of that fucking Bitcoin, because if I'm not getting it, the other guy is getting it. And I know that sounds terrible. Like if you see it from like a Marxist perspective, right? From like it's terrible, but it's like any, it's that's the whole idea with scarcity, like. And so when I figured, when that clicked inside my head, it was like, okay, this is what I want. I don't want dollars. I don't want euros. I don't want Mexican pesos. Much less Argentinian pesos. They've been devalued like 95% in only 1 year. And and especially with like in Latin America, I think it's a little bit easier to understand this kind of things, because I have like my father-in-law telling me about the famous devaluation of the Mexican peso in 1994. Okay, just around the corner with the TLC, El Tratado de Libre Comercio, like with the free trade agreement between Mexico, the U.S. and Canada, and and that just made the Mexican peso overnight fall like for like 50%, something like that. So he tells me the story of like having his money in Mexican pesos on his bank account, and the next day seeing that it was worth half, what it was worth the day before. So you start like hearing those kind of stories, and you say, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
If you keep your savings in that kind of like monetary system, in the long run, it's it's not good. It's not good. So yeah, that's like you need to be able to understand those kind of things, and because if you don't understand those kind of things, especially as an artist, you're gonna get really scared every time the market goes up and down. You're gonna like, yeah, you don't have the conviction. You need to have some kind of conviction. You need to be able to understand,
And
what are like
education, like you're saying, you have to
it only
read
comes
and
with
you have to really
education.
absorb as much as you possibly can to
Definitely.
know as much about the system that you're working in, right? Because it's
Exactly,
so new.
exactly. And what if you're an artist? Like I kept a lot of the crypto. Like I because I've been living off crypto for almost 5 years now.
Wow.
Like even before I got into NFTs, like I haven't received any like US dollars or euros, no, in like five
Wow.
years. And I have I have my partner, my wife, and 3 kids. So we've been able, my wife and I, to sustain a family of five for almost 5 years now, with only crypto coming in, right? So it's possible,
That's incredible.
but it's at times, it's been difficult, like, but my wife and I, in my case, that I'm married, I need to have a partner that is with me in this, that understands also. And I think at this point, probably my wife is the one that understands more than I do how to run a family, how to run an enterprise, how to run a company, only using cryptocurrencies. I just make the art.
Shout out to all the crypto partners
Yes,
in the world holding it
yes,
together for real.
yes.
But I guess like sort of like the more this the second question there, and like sort of the
Hmm.
deeper, more internal one is, we mentioned off the top that you are also sort of expanding your practice, and pushing it in
Hmm.
new ways, into sort of this more generative art
Yeah,
practice. I'm interested in that, and like if that is also sort of like coming at the same time intentionally or not, sort of in this bear market. Like, are you using this as an opportunity to be like, I'm expanding, I'm pushing further?
definitely, for sure. And this is something that I learned from my mom. Like my mom, she didn't study economics or finance, but once again, she was, single mother, and she had to like, run the whole household, take care of me and my brother, have a couple of jobs. So she has that kind of like, street savvy economic kind of thinking, I would say. And she would always tell me whenever there's a recession, and you can extrapolate that word to, it might be like a bear market in crypto, or it can be like a real recession. If the US government announces that, we're going to have a recession this year, it doesn't matter. You can extrapolate it to any kind of like, downturn in any kind of market. And she would always tell me when I was growing up that when a recession hits, I don't know where she got it from. Maybe she just like, but she used to tell me when a recession hits, it's the best time to go back to university. It's the best time to go back and study. It's the best time.
Mm,
Yeah.
I love
That's
that.
right, baby.
Can you tell us a bit about sort of like what that means for you as an artist, and in terms of how what you're learning, what you're practicing right now, that's sort of expanding
Yeah.
your vocabulary as
Oh yeah.
Carlos the artist?
For sure. It's been learning to code, basically. Like I've been thinking lately that I've had in my career as a digital artist, like maybe like four moments that have impacted me. One is when I started doing 3D, and I found out that I could do it. That whatever I like, I remember watching like the first Toy Story movie in the 90s when I was a teenager. And that thing that I thought, you needed like a whole studio, like just, I mean, obviously, like making a movie is difficult even today with all the technology, but the techniques, right? Like the technology that they were using back then to make to make Toy Story, they were now available to me, right? And then like a lot of like different like rendering engines came about, like Octane. I still use Octane, but then you have like Redshift, and they were priced very well, so you could like I pay a monthly subscription to Octane. I've been paying it for a lot of years. And then I could do like PBR rendering, which is physically based rendering, right? Where it's calculating all the that's thing, yeah, all the light passes. And then when I saw that I could do that, in my PC at home, it was the first moment where I figured, okay, this is revolutionary. This changes everything. This changes everything. I think the second time was when I discovered crypto, right? When that I could sell my design, for instead of fiat money, I could sell it for Bitcoin. And I discovered crypto, and I discovered what it meant, what it could possibly do for the world. That's the second moment, transformative moment. The third moment is the NFTs, obviously. NFTs. That's probably still the biggest, transformative thing that has happened in my life as a digital artist. And then the fourth one is when I realized how well, generative art and code-based art integrated with the whole crypto art ethos, and with the whole thing, like you can have the hash of the transaction be the one generating the randomness, and that just blew my mind. And it felt like, this is truly, even though generative art, it's relatively old, right now. It comes from the 60s, and even you could argue that even before computers, you have systems, right? And you could create art with systems. Um, but I think it was kind of like a match made in heaven, those two, a match made in heaven.
Possibilities.
So yeah, that's kind of like, yeah, I said to myself, okay, the market is it's slowing down. I just got a couple of different courses, and I've been learning how to code. Like, I've used all of 2022. I was gonna say 2018, 2022, to just learn how to code. And I actually put out my last NFT on Superware, was done using JavaScript and 3JS, which is a library for doing 3D stuff. So I'm still doing 3D. It's just that I found out that I could do 3D stuff with code, and it's been one of the most satisfying, mind blowing experiences of all my career. It's been fun as hell.
So I have like a million questions, Carlos. I got to try
Yeah,
to figure out where I want to start. Actually, I'm going to start with.
I see your mind working, Bailey. I see you like nodding and grooving. I'm like, where is he gonna
I've
go?
got art questions. I've got life questions. I got philosophy questions. I want to start with sort of an art question that just trails on from, follows on from what you were just talking about, which is like, a lot of generative art, by the nature of the way it's created, it tends to be sort of abstract, right? And I think there's lots of value and communicative value in generative art, but it's a little bit harder to maybe tell a story than with like figurative art, like representational art, right? So as someone who's just crossed the bridge from 3D art that has like figures and recognizable shapes and objects that you can assemble in a way to tell a more direct story. Maybe it's not more direct, but it feels like it would be, to someone who's moving into a medium that is inherently more abstract. Does it feel like it's changing what you can say and how you say it, or are you finding ways to say the same thing in a new medium, or are you excited to say different things in a new medium?
It's a little bit of like all of them, but I mean, if it's only code based, I'm able to integrate kind of like figures and make it a little bit more figurative. Right now, I'm building a generative series, and it's only kind of like using the code. Like, I'm not bringing in any 3D objects. So that's gonna be an interesting challenge. Although there are ways of making parametric objects using only code, right? I can, like, because it's what you're talking about. It's something that I've had in my mind constantly since I began learning how to code, and I began, learning about generative art. And I'm doing something that has like influenced by, I was raised in the Caribbean, in Puerto Rico. I spent a lot of time in the Caribbean part of Mexico, like Tulum, Cancun, Playa del Carmen. And I'm making a generative series that integrates parametric made shells. Okay.
This sounds awesome.
So it's a way of kind of like bringing in and being able to tell a story with 3D objects that can be, made, coming into existence with only code. And since they're parametric, they can be generative, right? They can change, because you change the parameters of this shell, and then you don't have the big one, you have the one, and you have like a different kind of shells. So since I come from like more of like a figurative artist, I've been trying, right? But it's a challenge, as you mentioned, to kind of like keep it in the same vein, in the same line. But I'm not afraid. Like, once I probably establish myself, as a algorithmic generative artist, I wouldn't mind, expanding and doing more abstract stuff. And I think I have interesting ways of making those words tell a story, maybe even be politicized. I think working with algorithms, it's very interesting socially and politically in itself, even if you're making abstract stuff, because you know, arguably all of our lives, right, are are mediated by algorithms, right? And the impact of algorithms. I started reading a book not long ago. I keep reading it. I stopped reading it. You know, life gets in the way. And I think it's called um, Algorithms, Weapons of Math Destruction. So it's a critical view on algorithms, right, and how they've been used in, like, for example, I think one of the examples that they give at the very beginning is kind of like they're using it to evaluate teachers in Chicago, right? So you don't have a human anymore evaluating things. So you just feed the computer, all these data points, and but then you get all these professors and teachers that when you go speak to the communities in Chicago, they will tell you they're great professors, they're great teachers. Why
Right.
is the algorithm telling me that I should, fire that teacher?
The
So
automating of humanity. Right.
right, and somebody's automating that, and those humans still have biases,
That's the most
right?
beautiful. Not to cut you off, because I was just going to say it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
beautiful answer, because like I see you bringing not only your personal past, like where you grew up, right, and who you are as a person, into art, which is always like the best. Like art is like when people can fully get themselves into it, but also your own practice, right? Like you're not abandoning your old practice and like starting something new, but you're bringing those skills and that perspective in. And like you talked about how it's hard, right? But like you don't say like it's hard, so like I don't want to do it. Like the fact that it's hard is what's going to make your work so good, right? Because like you're finding ways, to bring that in. And it's cool. Yeah, it got me thinking we'll have to have a separate conversation, because no one wants to hear me talk about 2002 Mel script for Maya. But like you can do a lot of programming for
Yeah,
3D stuff. But like talking
you can.
about like hard, like a lot of the early days, when you and I would talk about like what we were really trying to build before it came around NFTs was like a new art world, right? I don't think that's an exaggeration, where people all around the world
Hmm.
could have opportunities instead of just the people that were born with the right connections or in the right geographies. And like, I feel like you've always been very vocal and real about what your prospects were, prior to NFTs and what NFTs did for you, right? And so I've got sort of a famous two-part Jason question here. My questions always ramble, but like, one is like, after the space kind of exploded, I heard a lot of people pushing back, saying like, no, this is all the same people that did well in the traditional art world. It's not global. It's not, it hasn't represented a new change for people that were outside the market. It has all the same problems as the old art market. And like, I want to hear your thoughts on that. Has that become true? Was
Hmm.
that ever true? But then the other question that is kind of tied to it, right? Because I don't want the first one to be a loaded question, is could there be a Carlos Marcial that starts today, like, in the crypto art space? Or was that a time period where, people that got in early did really well, and now maybe there's so many people trying to get in that it can't be there? So that's why I see these two questions as connected.
Hmm.
One is like,
Hmm.
was there a time when it really did represent new opportunities for artists around the world, and has that window closed?
Ben, that's definitely like
It's a Bailey
a
question.
long. It's a Bailey question for sure. I I wanted to say something a little bit before. Fuck, what I was thinking about. Let me. Anyways, I'll just go straight into your questions, because I. Oh yeah, okay, I got it. I got it. It's when those questions arise in my head, right? Like, would I been able to do the same things that I've done if I had come into the game a little bit later? I dwell on those questions. I come up with different answers probably at different times, depending maybe of how I'm feeling, you know. But one thing stays the same is, and I think you mentioned this at the in the intro. It's like when I got into all of this wasn't for the money, right? And I think, kind of like artistic movements. It doesn't matter what kind of medium it is. if it's like, visual arts or literature or whatever it might be. I feel, like if we, I mean, I haven't done the research, but it would be interesting. Like, whenever you have people believe in something before there's a market for it, like the markets, right? And it's a mix of like capital and cultural capital. It has a funny way, right, of rewarding the people that that were real, right? Like they weren't in it because they were in it maybe for the right reasons, right? And that doesn't mean that people that got in later because it's like they saw the money. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Like, money is one hell of a motivator, right? Uh, it is. So, I mean, would I been able? I would have been able to say the same things that I've been saying. I would be trying, to push the same kind of message, political, social, aesthetic message, and as I've been doing now, would have that translated into kind of like economical rewards? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's the thing. And I just finished reading a book. Like, that's another one, Dan, that I like, artists I think they should read. It's called The Psychology of Money. One of the best financial books I've, like, I don't read financial books, because if I read about, like, it's crypto, like I just want to get more into crypto. But this is kind of like one of the first financial books that I ever read, and he talks a lot about like rich people, how lucky they got. But once they make money, it's very difficult to get them to acknowledge how luck played a big part in their success, right? Because when you become successful, right, you don't want to acknowledge that you in some way got lucky for many diverse reasons, right? So I think, I got lucky. I got lucky. I was I got the opportunity to be involved with NFTs and crypto before crypto art, became big, and I was in the position. I had the resources. Many things were in place so that when I saw the opportunity to become a crypto artist, just because it seemed super cool to me, it didn't matter if I was gonna make money out of it. I was able to do it, so I got lucky, and I know that I'm talented in this area and that other area, and I'm able to do this well, and I'm able to communicate what I want
And
to
you're
communicate.
persistent, right?
And I'm persistent, right? Definitely, and I push on forward. But I gotta admit that 50% it was because I got in early, probably, and that was pure luck. And yeah, so I don't know if I answered all the Bailey question. I don't know if there's something missing that I missed.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think you answered the second part for sure, which is like, you would still be you. Like, there could still be another Carlos Marcial who has something that they want to say through their art that could come in, and that's what you'd be doing right now. But the timing of coming
Right.
in earlier definitely helped, and it helped the whole movement, right? Because it wasn't driven by money; it was driven by sincerity and art and principle and
Right.
things like that. But then, yeah, I guess,
Right.
and I think you kind of answered the first part too, which is like, is that opportunity still there? Well, maybe the money not as much is kind of what I'm hearing, but like the opportunity to be part of this community and express yourself is like
Hmm.
more there, now than ever. Yeah, I think
I've become a little bit skeptical. Like, I didn't know what like survivor bias was when I started having some kind of like, success in crypto art, and I was much more naive than I'm right now. And I remember being like telling, especially like Latin American artists, because that's kind of like, that's my audience. Like, I want to be able to talk to other Latin American artists, because I knew that there was kind of like, there was an opportunity, there was some potential in there, like, for people that come from where I come from, to be heard and to be seen, right? But now I have to be honest and realize that maybe I was a little bit naive. Like, you know, some of them did, saw the opportunity and jumped in, and it happened, right? But there's so many factors that have to fall in place for an artist to have success. And you probably could like ask all artists, and they will tell you different things, right? Like there's no consensus around like what will make you successful as an artist, let alone a digital artist using a fucking new technology that's only been around for like 5 years. Like, so there's no recipe, there's no way. So I've kind of like, sorry to talk so much. So I've
That's why you're here, homie.
That's what I'm here. I've kind of like take it down a notch in kind of like saying, oh no, you can get into NFTs, and and it open up this whole world for you. And if you do this and you do that and you persevere and whatnot, you might become successful. Like I've toned that down like considerably. And I've become maybe a little bit more skeptical, and I think it's healthy, to have kind of like a critical distance, even with the community and the place that one is, part of, so that I don't become overly ideological, right? And it's like, no, yeah, it's the fucking revolution, and it's gonna change everything. And it's not like that, and I don't want to fool people. I don't want to give, especially like I said, Latin American people, Latin American artists. I don't want to give them false hopes, that it's quickly, that it's easy, right? No. So is there opportunity? I think there is, right? And you have to be like what a lot of artists did in 2018 and 19. Like you have to put your head down. Like Dan said, be persistent, be consistent, be here because you want to be part of the community, right? And don't still keep your day job, maybe. Being completely honest, keep your day job. It's a process. Becoming like a full-time artist, it's a fucking process.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. Usually, it doesn't happen overnight. Like I've been doing my digital art for a long, for the longest time. The only thing that I could get for it was design jobs, right? At design studios, and do animations for like pretty animations for a fucking soda brand or a sneaker brand. That was the kind of things that I was doing, and then all of a sudden there was an opportunity to become an artist, and I took it. But it's not like, oh, you have to be doing it, long before the opportunity gets presented to you.
Totally
I
get
think
that.
it was Seneca that said that. Seneca, the old Greek philosopher, said that luck is when you're ready, when opportunity shows up. That's luck. So the opportunity presented itself, and you were ready to take it. I mean, how much more luck do you want?
Yeah, when hard work, when effort meets opportunity. I've got a million other questions
Yes.
I would love to talk to you about, but I think we're going to transition to a different kind
There's
of
that
question.
cue.
There's the cue.
Carlos Marcial, sir, hold there 1 second. We're going to head into a pre-roll, and then we're going to keep you for 22 questions.
Cool.
Thank you so much, homie. Back of your NFTs. I'm Jason Bailey. I'm doing a rap.
NFT collectors, did you realize fewer than 10% of NFTs actually store all the files on the blockchain? That's because it's really expensive to store files on the blockchain. Instead, about 90% of your NFT collection is dependent on marketplaces paying to store and pin the files. If those marketplaces go out of business, poof, there goes the value of your NFT collection. Go to clubnft.com and create a local backup of your NFTs for free. Your JPEGs will thank you.
The art business is very volatile. Glorious, dank splendor.
Little dank, ain't it?
Testing, testing, testing. Welcome back to the Dankness. We're just about to hop into 22 questions. This is a segment where we ask our guest a slate of 22 randomly, not so random selected questions. A note to our guest, please don't overthink your answers. It's easier if you don't think about the answer too much. A note to our audience, if you'd like to submit a question to be included in 22 questions in future episodes, just feel free to reach out directly to us at hello@dpopstudios.xyz. Carlos
I
Marcial.
overthink everything. I'll try not to overthink
Exactly.
because I
Cool.
overthink everything. Okay.
Let it go. Let it go, brother. Are you ready for 22 questions?
Baby.
Please come.
I'm not sure, but let's go.
Bailey with the first.
All right, Carlos, buddy, what did you eat for breakfast?
I ate eggs and bread.
Eggs and bread.
Scrambled eggs.
I can eat 40 eggs.
Yes.
Carlos Marcial, describe
No,
this.
an omelette. Sorry, I started lying.
Yeah, you don't want to lie.
We've already stressed him out.
Don't try to impress us with your your imaginary
We
breakfast.
stressed him out with the first question.
Yeah.
He was like
But
so
it's like-
casual too. He was like, what, eggs and bread? Like,
But
Jason.
Riley, but it's like eggs and bread. But then I said scrambled eggs. I said no. I spend the time making myself and my wife a fucking omelette.
And
like I love omelettes.
I said,
and I can.
I said you were going to keep it
Do you
real.
always make breakfast for her?
Yes, indeed. Man,
that's-
it doesn't matter. Like if you're on the top of the crypto art game, you can still make breakfast for. No, I'm kidding.
No, dude, that is A+ husband right there. Breakfast.
She's been my support.
right,
I'm where I am because of Alondra. That's her name. So whenever I get the chance to like make her breakfast, I'll do it. You know, that's the least thing I could do after giving me 3 kids.
And I love an omelet.
It's
sir. Good
yes.
choice.
Sorry. No, okay, I'll try to be more concise. Okay.
This is perfect, actually. Carlos, this is probably going to trip you up a lot. Question number 2: describe the state of your bed right now.
It's made. It's done. We my wife and I like do it together every morning, so it's made. Yes.
Pencil or pen? Preferred brand, sir?
I don't have I'm gonna send pen. Yes, pen. I don't have a preferred brand, but I'll probably come with like preferred brand because I'm getting also into pen plotters for generative art.
Very cool.
So I'm getting into that too. Yes. I'm ordering my first one, very soon. Yes. So, but pen. Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you received your first computer?
Well, the first computer that was at my home, my dad is a paint professor in the university, the National School of Art in Puerto Rico. And he was given a computer when I was probably like 9 or 10. So he could kind of like get into digital art because it was in the 90s and people were trying to get like the traditional artists into digital artists. And they chose my dad to get a computer. And he never used it.
Wow.
It was me.
Is he still at the University of Puerto Rico?
Yes. He's still a painting professor.
I love
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So both, I know we're not supposed to go too long on any one question, but we can always cut some off at the end. Both your parents teach art? Your mom is art history, your dad teaches painting? Is that what?
Proper
Yeah.
dankness.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, my dad is a painting professor, and my mom used to teach Spanish. She was a Spanish professor, but then she got into like the history of art side of things, so she could also move up. She's in the University of Puerto Rico. They're in different universities. My dad is in the National School of Art, and my mom is in the University of Puerto Rico. And she did her thesis work was about the change of the market in Puerto Rico during the transition between the Spanish and the Americans.
The fact that,
like
that
how
sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna end it like the art market changed. When we were a colony of Spain, the people that consume art was it was Spanish. You had more, and then when the Americans came into Puerto Rico, the market changed, right? And that also changed what painters were doing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the
Hmm.
fact that you are who you are makes so much sense now, right? Like, with who your parents are and how you were raised. So very, very
Definitely.
interesting. I'm gonna
I mean,
jump
art
to
professors in Puerto Rico. I mean, it's such a charged place,
It
as
is.
yeah, as we know.
yeah.
So yeah, it's an
Yes.
incredible experience growing up there, I'm sure.
Uh,
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Best friends. Yes.
favorite author, writer, speaker, Carlos.
I'm gonna say Roberto Bolaño. He's a Chilean author. Great. Probably the most famous contemporary Latin American author right now. You can find it in English and many other languages. But if you wanna like get in tune with kind of like the mindset of like postmodernist Latin American mindset, you
Hmm.
should probably read Roberto Bolaño from Chile. He got exiled after the fascist dictatorship after Pinochet. He had to leave and he went to live in Barcelona, in Spain.
Wow.
He was thrown out because of his political involvement.
Wow.
Yes.
What's your favorite arcade game?
Tekken, 3D. That's maybe why I like 3D. Tekken. Yes.
Good choice.
Yes. Yes.
Preferred pizza topping and least favorite pizza topping.
Least favorite. Ah, man, I don't think I have favorite one. Maybe pear and blue cheese. Um, People always talk about pineapple, but I think pear, pera,
Pear, yeah.
pear. I
Yeah.
think it's the best topping you can have
It's such a
on
good
a.
choice.
It's a very good choice. Yes, and least like cheese, like like boring, like only like cheese. Like I need some kind of fruit and yeah,
What even is that?
mm,
What was
or
your
vegetables.
what was your favorite animated series as a child?
The Smurfs.
Wow.
One vice you'll
I feel like
The Smurfs.
one vice you'll openly admit.
Coffee. Coffee. I've had all vices. At this point in my life, I've tried them all, but the one that I cannot shake off is coffee. I need coffee in the morning, or otherwise I'll get like a fucking massive headache. Yeah, so that's
an often overlooked aspect of your personality is
often overlooked
what don't people know about who you are?
that I really care about, people and this that I'm caring, that I'm caring. Like I care, like if you're doing well, if the world is doing well, that I care, that I'm not here just for the ride. Yes, probably. Hmm.
Favorite era of art.
This one,
What's your favorite
this
era
one,
of? No, this one. Great,
this one,
great answer.
this one,
Great answer
this
with no
one.
hesitation.
No, I don't have any nostalgia for the past. I'm not that kind of artist. I don't have nostalgia. I care for the past as long as it informs the present, right? But I wouldn't want to live in like 1930s Paris or in like 1970s New York. I couldn't care less. There's nothing better than being able to understand, what historical thing is happening right now and being able to play some kind of role in that. So this one.
Mm.
Mhm.
If you could change one thing about your neighborhood, it would be
About my neighborhood. I'm new in this neighborhood. I'm in Lisbon. I wouldn't change. Man, I hope no Portuguese is listening to this. I wouldn't change anything. It's perfect.
That's right, baby.
Um,
I'm
what?
asking from New York City, so I'm like, here's my list.
It's actually it's
Read my
man like
lips.
I don't know if
No.
you guys have been in Lisbon, but
It's
it's
beautiful.
very nice. People are really nice. The weather, like it has the most amount of sunshine in all of Europe. Like you get the most amount of sunshine.
It's
People
beautiful.
are not like Italians. Maybe they're like loud and they're more toned down. But I like that also because I come from all that energy from like Mexico City and Puerto Rico, and I'm very loud and I'm very like jittery, and I see the Portuguese and they calm me down,
Mm.
and I've been really enjoying that and like taking the time to enjoy life and take it easy and drink my coffee, my espresso coffee with my pastel de nata. And yes, I've been enjoying it. So I wouldn't change anything. At least not yet. It's been just a short period of time. Like give me a year, maybe or 2 years.
You have your scrambled eggs and your toast. Oh wait, no, that was a lie. That
Your
one was a
perfectly
lie.
made bed.
Yeah, your perfectly made bed.
I faked it.
So Carlos, what's an art
I'm living the life.
what's an artwork that you don't own but you wish you did?
Art it is.
Like NFT or
Any
traditional
artwork,
art could be.
any artwork, any time period.
You will take art. You will
I
enjoy art.
Man, I would love to own a Diego Rivera or Wilfredo Lam, which is a Afro-Cuban artist. You know, he was part of like the surrealists. Probably the only Caribbean, like Latin American, but also Caribbean artist that was around like Picasso and Braque and Leyer and Gris and all of those. And I think he's kind of like undervalued, you know. But for the longest time, he held the record for the highest selling auction. And then the Mexicans came in, Diego Rivera, and then Frida Kahlo. But no. Actually, he was gonna beat it, and he never got the chance. It never happened. It never materialized. But he's kind of like there, like you know, he could probably in some years beat Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo. Who knows? So I would love to own one of his paintings.
Love Lamb, great choice.
Mm-hmm.
So this question you can sort of ask in a metaphorical sense or a literal one, but describe your first psychedelic experience. It can be
My first psychedelic
induced with substances or just a mind expanding moment in your life.
The first one. It was like in you probably know this then, right? In Puerto Rico, there's a carnival, La Fiesta de San Sebastián. It's
Yes.
a yearly carnival. It's in January. It's been so long. So that
Yes.
it's been and I was like 16, maybe 17, and I took some acid. And I was crazy. Imagine taking acid and then
Walking around Old San
you know,
Juan.
walking around old San Juan in the middle of a fucking carnival. Like it was yeah.
That's an
my
incredible
introduction.
time on the island too
Yeah.
to visit for anyone who hasn't been to Puerto
Right.
Rico. December, January. I mean, it's so much fun.
It's so much fun, and if you don't take anything and you just see those carnivals, it's quite surreal, right? And you see the art and you see the puppets with the big heads and the music and like all this stimulation. But if you get the chance to do it on acid, it's something else. It's something else.
I would need a helper. Like I can't trip without like a guidance counselor, like a helper or chaperone. That's the word I'm looking for. Trip sitter.
I wouldn't do it now. Like I was just young and bold, and and I wouldn't do it now. I don't know how I didn't go into because I would turn a corner. And then there's like these big puppets that are made for the carnival, and I was tripping balls, and then one of these massive puppets starts coming my way.
I like the paper mache with the giant heads. I love, those are wild.
And then I would like, I'm tripping, and then I would like I thought I was actually, but actually it gave me, I think, up to this day, like what carnival is all about. It's about that surprise, like being you break the rules, right? Because
and a little scared, right? Like a little,
and you're a little bit scared,
yeah. Because
carnival in the Caribbean, Latin American tradition is the time where the poor people, right, the slaves, were able to break the rules and kind of like flip the whole hierarchy of society, right? And in the carnival in San Juan, you have the puppets are dressed kind of like the Spaniards, right? Because it's the only opportunity, the poor black and brown people have to make fun of the people in power, right? So it's a total deconstruction of the power system that are in place. So having that with acid,
Don't you smell the acid in the air?
Direct line to master crypto artist.
I love that.
See how it all comes together now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what website, Carlos, has had the greatest impact on you in your life?
By now, probably super rare.
Ah, that's a great answer.
That is a really good answer.
Probably super rare. Like at this point in my life, yes, definitely, because that was my entry point into crypto art. So
So
yeah, and it's changed my life and my family life. Yes.
that one was free, super rare, but the next one you had to become a sponsor.
There we go.
But now it's Club NFT. Actually, now that
Oh,
I
there you
might be,
go. Right
losing
answer.
my, I might be Club NFT or the Dankness
Right
podcast.
click save.
Those
Yeah.
right click
There you
save,
go.
all of them.
Checks in the mail, Carlos.
I'll just copy my address.
There you go. That works too.
In the
Yeah.
chat.
Carlos, tell us about an experience that you've had with a collector that's been particularly impactful.
Um, Man, I've had like good ones and bad ones, but probably good ones like when I met Basileus. He came over to Lisbon for the past year's NFC, the non-fungible conference, and we just hit it off. And we met in real life, and he came to my home and sat down with my family, and I met his wife, and he met my kids, and that was pretty awesome, like and to discover that we have so much in common, and I appreciate that. He's my biggest collector, actually.
I've heard
He's
wonderful
my
things about him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a wonderful person, wonderful human being. Really believes in all of this. Like you have a lot people talk about like the OG crypto artists. I don't think we talk enough about like the OG collectors. Obviously, Jason also being one of them. And Basileus is definitely one of them.
Yeah, but I
Yes.
got to meet him in Mexico City, and just a
Mm,
smart, calming, presence. Just a
definitely.
good guy that just like always does the right thing. So lucky to have him in our community. If you could
Yeah.
meet
Yeah.
anyone, Carlos, who would it be and why?
Man, I right now I'm because I'm getting really into like the generative art thing. There's this German painter that works with like I think he uses a plotter. I'm pretty sure. I haven't been able to find images like, and he doesn't mention it in the description of his artworks, but he's been doing very well for himself, in the traditional art world. His name is I don't know German, so it's Marco. That's easy. Reichard, I think it is. And he's mixing algorithms. He's using the plotter to paint them, and then he's working on top of them. And I think that's crazy. I never like I know like Tyler Hobbs do a little bit of that, but this dude is working on canvas, and he has like massive. So I think he constructed like his own plotter, maybe from like 3D printed parts, and he's using it to help him or to collaborate with him on this massive canvases.
Wow.
And I would love to meet that guy. I would
Very
love to
cool.
like pick his brain.
Well, if he's listening, he
Yes,
should reach out.
definitely, please, Marco.
You have one
Yes.
option. You can time jump into the random future or time jump back to the random past. What do you choose?
Oh man, that's too difficult. No, I don't know. Time jump into the future, maybe. Yes, I'm hoping. I'm hoping the future that we're still in here, and yeah, and it's good. Past, man, you can always, jump into the bubonic plague. You're a black dude, you jump into slavery.
You're done. Yeah.
You're done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody thinks, oh, you're Mexican, so you jump back and you're kind of like the chief, You're on top of the pyramid, and you're not. You're the guy getting, his head cut off. Nah, I don't know. Maybe the future for sure.
All right, I'm going to call this last question, Carlos, and then we'll wind it down. Ideal afterlife scenario. So, what do you want to have happen when you croak?
I'm assuming things can get a little
I'm in the
tricky.
metaverse. I realized that it was, it was figured out, and that I'm inside some kind of interesting simulation, and that my consciousness has been uploaded. and I can appreciate NFTs for eternity.
We get that answer or variation on it quite a bit. And you know what my response is, Carlos, is that like when I think of metaverse, I think of the 3D metaverse, which is like always empty and cold and sterile. But I'm sure your metaverse is like a warm, happy, celebratory metaverse.
Definitely.
Like
That's a tropical
ephemeral,
metaverse.
there's clouds,
Hot
yeah,
dogs doing
That's,
kick
of course.
flips. Yeah.
sexy tropical vibe, yeah.
All kind of gifts, crazy gifts. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a simulation, right? So it can be whatever. I'm hoping that whoever plugs me into that, I don't have to be roaming free in the metaverse, right? I maybe I don't want to live in your side of the metaverse. It's too jarring or whatever. I just wanna like live like in my how do you say it in English? When you die, right? Like this is the kind of metaverse that I want to have, right? Please create this and plug me in there.
I love it. I love it.
With that, Carlos Marcial, dude, thank you so much for joining us today on the Dankness. It's a pleasure to chat with you, man.
The pleasure is all mine. I mean, the intro was the best intro ever. You guys are both brilliant, I mean, it's a pleasure to finally get to know you better, Dan. And Jason, it's always a pleasure to talk to this guy. He's my guru, my crypto art guru. So whenever I need something, I ask for Jason's spirit to materialize and help me.
We all do that to Jason, I think.
That's a lot of pressure.
Carlos, keep us updated for your next drop and everything. We would love to share it.
Perfect.
On all of our channels and everything, and please come back to the Dankness.
I will. Let me spend some more time on the whole generative things that I've been starting to do right now, and hopefully next time we can get more into that. And you'll see it right now. Like, it'll be there for you guys to see it, basically.
Awesome.
Yes.
Very excited for that.
Thank you.
Thank you
Awesome.
for coming.
Thank you.
Carlos, you are the best, man.
So
Thank
good.
you so
So
much,
good.
homie.
Thank you
So
so
good.
much. You guys are doing, the metaverse God's work. This is what we need right now. This kind of work, this kind of discussions. I just want to, before I go, to let you guys know that this is it.
Appreciate
because,
that.
I feel like some artists feel like the market, they're not selling whatnot. Like it's difficult, but then this is what we have. We have the culture, we have the community. This is what will keep it alive.
Just gotta thank everybody.
I
for
would like to
coming.
thank everybody for listening to today's episode, and I would like to thank our special esteemed guest, Carlos Marcial, once again. I would like to thank Dan and Stella for putting up with me, and
Thank you, Art Gnome, but especially thanks for Stella for putting up.
where can people
Double
find out more about Carlos Marcial?
Check out Carlos and his work. You can stay up to date with everything that he's doing at Carlos Marcial T. That's at CarlosMarcialt. Carlos Marcial T. And then you can find us on the interwebs at thedankness.xyz, newhere.xyz, and clubnft.com.
Back 'em up.
Remember, back up
'em
your
up.
NFTs. And then you can also find us on our personal accounts at ArtGnome and at Dan_Sickles. Thank y'all so much for being with us today.
This is Flood's AI-generated assistant speaking on behalf of himself and Stella. Flood and Stella are extremely busy working on making the dankest danktones for the upcoming episodes. Here is a ChatGPT intro to them and their work on the dankness. Flood and Stella are audio-visual artists collaborating to make waves in the dankiverse with their trippy, acid-infused art project called the Danktones. They have been super busy lately, working around the clock to create some mind-bending image composition NFT art that's about to turn heads in the community. They're hitting all the retro music store vibes. The podcast cover art includes stickers, holographics, shrink wrap, and even some redacted sound effects. Yes, you heard that right. This wild duo is bringing back physical media vibes in a big way with this release. But it's not just the medium that's impressive, it's the audio-visual art itself. Flood and Stella's art is truly something special, with bright, bold colors and intricate patterns and zany sound effects that will have you feeling like you're tripping on acid. So if you're a fan of NFT art and you're looking for something a little bit different, definitely check out Flood and Stella's The Danktones project. Thanks for your time. Have a dank 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 dank.